Welcome back to Q Dads. It's me, Ben, and that's right, Squid Game we're talking about now, as the second season has just dropped. And you know what? Actually, it's probably about 10 times better than the first as well. And now, yes, we are a little bit late to the party, but that's because I've actually sat back and enjoyed and appreciated the show rather than binging it all in one go. And I've got some great theories going into season 2, as well as explaining that ending and that all important mid credit scene. So, of course, let's dive straight in, hit that subscribe button, and let's talk about all those important scenes right at the end. So, the show ended with Jihan actually losing, and the show cuts away mid scene as player 390 is killed. The frontman with the black mask returns to rub it in his face, and we leave it there, not knowing what happened. All of our people waiting, the pregnant girl, the mum and the son, and even those guys searching for the island on the outside, were just left in complete mystery, not knowing if we'll see any of them again for season 3. But we are given a bit of a mid-credit scene as 3 additional players enter, walking behind the large doll that we've seen in Red Light, Green Light, but also it introduces a new doll, which of course the showrunners did announce in summer, teasing it for the 2 seasons. But of course, we ask ourselves, what does this mean? So for me, it obviously means that we're going to be seeing another game, almost like Jihan has been put back into the games to play the correct way, or cast aside completely and made to watch as they continue the games without him. And the addition of this new doll is actually a repercussion of Jihan's previous attempts to hinder the games, and all falls back to when he originally played Red Light, Green Light. So if you cast your mind back to the first couple episodes, he actually got everyone to line up behind him, meaning that the doll couldn't differentiate between the motion that was happening as it was facing that one person. And this is something that 001, or Player 1, observed from the control centre. So learning from this mistake, he's brought in the addition of a second doll, which is going to be put behind the players to detect motion from both ways, meaning they actually have to play the games correctly. And if you actually think about every time Player 1 was watching Jihan, he was assessing what he was saying about all of the games, meaning that actually he's probably going to force him to replay the games from season 1, but this time harder and more increased. So if anything, Jihan has actually helped influence the future of the games, making them more tactical and fun, obviously for the people not involved. But this season still did leave us with a load more questions. Like of course some of the characters that we've come to love, what happened to them when we saw them last? So for those who were still alive in the end, they were left in the living quarters, being held at gunpoint by the rest of the operatives, not knowing what to do or what's going to happen next. Now, are they going to be forced to play the games again, or are they going to be allowed to go? Or are they even going to get killed? I mean, at this point, who really knows? And then, on the flip side of this, we have people outside on the boat, with the absolute massive twist that the captain of the boat was working for the game show the whole time. Now, this is something that I didn't quite actually realise until the last couple of episodes, and it was just the way that he was asking some of the questions. But the fact that he's now been altering the drone's footage, or tampering with the drone's tracker, something that allows then the operatives of the game to get the upper hand. And this is something that actually blows my mind, meaning that we could have visited this island multiple times already and not even realised it. I mean, the one with the hatch that exploded, was that the correct island? Who actually knows? But of course, one of the biggest mysteries for me is something that I don't feel is actually talked enough about, and that is what they're doing with the organs. So of course we know that during the games, when someone dies, they're taken away. And for those who don't quite die on the scene, their coffins are marked with a little cross and they're taken somewhere else. Now we saw a lot of this in the first season, but we do get to see bits of it in this second one too. And it's all about them harvesting the organs. Now, if I think and I cast my mind back to season 1, I'm pretty sure it alluded to the organs being used to create something. I'm not sure if this is something that's going to be quite monstrous, But there was obviously a bit of controversy over the quality of the organs being harvested in this season. But yet no one is really discussing what we've seen. Now obviously they send the shipment of organs off underwater somewhere else. But if we look at all those different islands that were around, it's got to be one that's close to the mainland. Otherwise they'll be going for quite a while to deliver the organs and ultimately affect the quality of them. But again, why? Why do they need them? What are they planning? I mean, a bit of a wild theory could be that they're using the blood within the organs to create something monstrous. But I do think that is too far-fetched myself. And actually, they're just using the organs on the black market to give people liver transplants, kidney transplants, in a way of retaining the debt within the country and allowing them to get more people into the games. It's almost like they're having a closed, full loop. So people enter the games, they die, their organs are then harvested, and then they go out into the real world where people in debt would buy a cheaper organ to save a family member. That debt then triples overnight and again leads them back into the games. It makes the most logical sense, but it's still a mystery that we've not really delved too much into. Now, overall, I did really enjoy this series. And the fact that number one was the front man for the whole operation and player 4, 5, 6 didn't even realise was just mind-blowing. Now, a few times we almost got rumbled, but it just felt so good. And almost at the end of each episode, there was a nice twist that we didn't expect. Such as when operative number 11 was shown to be a worker rather than a contestant. Absolutely blew my mind and I just did not expect it at all. Even the captain of the ship being in on it the whole time, again, that was something that I did not expect. And if we look at player number 1 for a second, if you look back through the episodes, it's almost like he had a backup plan for if any of the games went wrong. So obviously he didn't take part in red light, green light, so he was not part of that journey. But within the next set of games, where we saw a race with multiple challenges, he was in the last teams to go. So if you think about it, in the event that he actually failed, the guards could have killed everyone else on both teams but him, and no one further in the games would have even realised. And then we had the spinning wheel, where actually there was one point where he was left on his own. Now for me, I think that he went into another room by himself because actually the games master was watching and could have easily looked the other way. Now, the only thing that he could not control was the vote itself. But this is where he played slightly a different game. A game of intelligence. Because this is where he said certain things to reassure Jihan of certain tactics that may actually sway the opposite side. So if you remember, it was actually him that instigated the two sides talking to each other in a way to win votes, which ultimately led to the battle in the bathroom and the death of others, and then eventually the downfall of the whole games, which for number one, I think actually still worked rather than competing through the games. But now again, although the series ended very abruptly, I actually thought it was quite refreshing to see. Now, if we'd carried on the same kind of path as season 1 and saw a whole repetition of games, I think it would have been a little bit boring, if I'm honest. But the introduction of some of these new characters outside the games and focusing more on the players themselves and their journeys actually really did it for me. And I think it was a great touch, and I'm really looking forward to season 3. And here's my predictions for season 3. So I think that we're going to restart the games again, with Jihan unable to do anything other than sit and watch everyone get killed. Or the other thought is that he's forced to take part in the games again, but from the beginning, with all new people. But I mean, there is a possibility that they've just topped up the crowd, but that would risk upsetting the dynamic, because there were so many survivors, probably 50 to 70 survivors. And if they started the game as again with these same players, they would obviously use that inside knowledge of what's just happened. So I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to use things like the second doll as a way around it and actually make the games more complex. Similar to how Jihan saw a more complex version of the Dalgona game. in his dream, I think something like that is definitely going to be used. But overall, I'm happy and I really enjoyed this series, and actually, I just enjoyed taking my time and watching a couple episodes each night because it made me appreciate this show and the level that it's gone to even more. But I must point out as well that Thanos rapper character with the purple hair, God, he was so annoying, and I'm really, really glad that he died, but I really wish that he just died sooner. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the show. I'd love to hear your opinion about your favourite bits. And of course, what was your favourite scene overall? But more importantly, what were you most disappointed about? Because for me, it was actually the fact that number 11, as the worker, actually gave in and started helping them harvest these organs. I kind of wish mid-game she'd pulled the trigger on one of her own people. Let's hope that that can happen in Season 3. After all, player 246 did die, someone who she cares for. But as always, let me know your thoughts.
확인되었습니다.